Imagine if one day, God forbid, a fire broke out in your house and you only had time to pack 5 of your tarot decks, and of course all of your loved ones and pets and children will be safe. Or a less morbid version of that where you once and for all decide to downsize your collection. What 5 decks would you keep? I'm trying to answer that question for myself, and I can't do that without also sharing some honorable mentions, just to not feel too bad that I didn't include them. I honestly have been considering downsizing my collection for quite a while and with quite a bit. And let's take a look at the end of the video if I would be able to do that. Hi, I'm Ruby and I'm here to help you make better purchasing decisions through my tarot chats and deck reviews. Now let's start with my VR to #only 5 decks to 3 fat readers. One of the decks that I keep coming back to at all times and that I constantly recommend for beginners, but just as a tarot deck in general, it's my Good Karma tarot deck. I keep it in this handmade bag with sunflowers on it, as well as a golden healer crystal. But this is my Good Karma Tarot and I absolutely love it so much. I love the art style, I love the gentleness, I love the brightness of the backs. I love yellow, it's one of my favorite colors. And every time I pick this up for a reading, it resonates, it hits a spot. I just feel that when I do a reading, I just feel when I need to grab this deck, and it has never disappointed me ever. For a while there, I had this deck and I didn't really use it, and I was like, should I potentially declutter it? So I decided to put it on my desk so I would be able to reach for it a lot more often. And when I did, every single time, it just hits. I love this deck so much. I use it for client readings as well. I use it for personal readings. I love the Good Karma Tarot, and it is definitely one that if I were to downsize my entire collection and only keep 5 decks, I would keep this one, definitely. A deck that is a close second is the Light Years Tarot. Now, I'm not saying that the Good Karma Tarot is definitely like my #1 deck, even though I wouldn't be surprised if it is. This definitely comes close because it is so versatile to use, and I feel like where the Good Karma Tarot is more like bright and gentle, this one feels a little bit more intuitive. This one feels even like a little bit more grounded, if that makes sense. For a long time there, I didn't want to purchase the Light Years Tarot because everybody loved it, and I didn't want to be like the other people, which is such a stupid reason to hold off from getting a deck that you could potentially really enjoy, because I do really enjoy my Light Years Tarot. And if I were to downsize to 5 decks, I would downsize to decks that I really feel like I could do a really good reading with anytime. And that is one of these decks. I love this. I use this for client readings as well. I haven't used it in a while just because I have acquired a couple of other decks that I love as well. And I've been trying to see what decks I should let go of. So I've been trying to give those a chance a little bit more over my Light Years Tarot. But if I were to go somewhere where I might potentially do a reading for someone, like if I were to go to a local coffee shop and I know that I don't know, I have this local restaurant where I'm trying to make it so that I could have potentially regular tarot readings to do there. And this is definitely the deck that I would bring if that were to happen, because it is so approachable to do a reading with. Not only for myself, because it's always super easy to read with and super intuitive to read with, but I also think that for the other person, for the person receiving the reading, this is very approachable to look at. So that is why I love my Light Years Tarot. So now for #3, I want to go a little bit of a different route. So most of the decks that I'm talking about today are decks that I can just pick up and read with very quickly, and that is why they would be in my top 5. But this one is out of print and I don't expect it to come back into print. It's my Afro Avatar Tarot. If you are new here, you might not know that I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. Absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite shows, if not maybe my favorite show. Both Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra, even though the Afro Avatar Tarot is only about Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's a great deck. I love it so much. I love the art style. I love the things that are depicted in the images, like the star when Aang is coming out of the ice, whatever it's called. And there are also some original characters in here, which I don't hate them because it makes sense, because there's not always necessarily characters to be representing, like to choose to represent certain cards. I get that, but I don't necessarily love the original characters, just because I feel so connected to the characters in Avatar: The Last Airbender that I don't have a connection with the original characters that the creator made. But it's a great deck, and I can absolutely read with this, and I have read with it before. I love to read with this with my Tarot of the Divine. That one is not in this video because it's not like a super staple, even though if I were to do a top 10, maybe it would be in there. I don't know. So that is the Afro Avatar Tarot. It's not in print anymore. It's probably never gonna get into print anymore. So that is one that I would absolutely keep. The next one is my Dreaming Way Tarot. I talk about this deck a lot on my channel, at least I think so. I feel like I talk about it a lot. And this is what I once called my soul deck. It was a deck that whenever I read with it, it was super harsh and really like truthful, and this to me has like Gemini energy, and I am kind of lacking Gemini energy in my chart. I do have my 7th house ruled by Gemini, if I'm not mistaken. No, my 8th house ruled by Gemini, sorry. There's no planets in there, so I feel like this is what I really need sometimes, like a kick in the ass, if you will, with a tarot deck. And sometimes I use this for clients as well. I recently used it for a client reading that I felt like it really needed some like kick, if that makes sense. And this just, it doesn't disappoint. Whenever I read with this, it just doesn't disappoint. I can very easily pull a couple of cards with this and instantly get a really quick, well-hitting message with my Dreaming Way, and I love it. We're not going to talk about the backs because they're hideous and I hate them, and I know that I could potentially mod them and change, like do a different background, but I don't want to do that. It's a lot of effort and I know I'm gonna mess it up. So I know some people have issues with this deck. They don't like the pointy shoes in some of the cards. They don't like that sometimes it looks like scenery in the background and sometimes it looks like a weird wallpaper choice in the background. I don't really care. I really don't care, because the bond that I have with this deck, the messages that I get from this deck, the readings that I do with it, it makes sense. It's like one of my perfect decks. I absolutely love it. Now for deck number 5. Like, as it goes for all of the decks in my top 5, I'm not married to the idea of having these in my top 5 forever and ever. You know, my opinion changes, my taste changes, my experiences change. But for now, number 5 is the Ethereal Visions Tarot. This is quite new in my collection, but it has absolutely been a staple for me. I have used this for client readings as well, and if I use a deck for client readings, it means that I feel bonded enough with it to be able to do a reading for someone like that someone paid me to do. So that really says a lot about a deck if I use it in a client reading. And the Ethereal Visions Luna Edition, it is so stunning. It's more inclusive, like more ethically diverse than the original Ethereal Visions. I had looked at that one, but I'm not super attracted or very like into Art Nouveau. I don't think it's ugly, I don't hate it, but I just never was really into it. But then I saw this deck and I saw that the holographic parts were a little like purplish, and I do like purple. I do like purple. So then I decided to pick this up, and I don't know, this is like nothing else that I own. It's like super different. It is, not only do I not have anything like holographic really, the messages that I do with this are really different. They're not necessarily super gentle. I feel like this is a little bit more spiritual. So if I'm looking for like a really grounding reading, then I won't pick this up. But overall, this is a really amazing deck, and I have used it for both client readings. I've used it for readings on my Instagram. I've used it for a lot of personal readings. If you want to know, like, sometimes I post in my Discord server decks that I've used, like readings that I've done. I'll just like take a little picture of the cards laid out and share them. If you ever want to know like what decks I use for my personal practice, you can find it in there. I might also do like a video or a YouTube series, maybe, I don't know, of my personal practice, what I do, the decks that I use, similar to what Dawn Michelle does with her tarot practice sharing video. So let me know if you're interested in that. Now let's go on to the 2 honorable mentions that I have here. Now, I have a lot of tarot decks, okay? I'm pretty sure I'm like at 30 tarot decks right now, so picking only 5 really hard, like kind of impossible. And there are a couple of other decks that I have been working with that I've been really enjoying, but that I can't in good faith like pick over any of these decks. Anyway, my first honorable mention is my Cesar Tarot. This is also quite new to me, as in I got it this year. But it is so stunning. I've also used it for client readings. I've used it for personal readings, for readings on my Instagram. And it's just a really great deck. It's modern. It gives me all the feels. I haven't reached for it for a while because I'm trying to use some other decks that I haven't used in a while. And to try and bond with those as well. But this one is amazing. I love this deck. I love the images in this deck. I love the art style of the deck. I really enjoy the messages that I get with this. This is like a really good sort of neutral tarot deck, like where I would use my Centennial like Rider-Waite-Smith for like a neutral reading. This does that really well as well. It's not too grounded. It's not too like spiritual over the top like that. It is not too honest. It's not too gentle. It's like, for me, it is really also like a perfect tarot deck. So this could very, very easily have been in my top 5. Maybe if the Afro Avatar Tarot was still in print, maybe then, but I don't think so. But the Cesar Tarot is a really great honorable mention because I love it, and I love working with it. I love the readings that I do with it, all of that. Now, the last one, the last honorable mention, might surprise you a little bit, and it surprised me too. But when I look at the decks that I have here, like the 6 decks, like the 5 from the top 5 plus my honorable mention, they all are like quite modern. They are all like very traditional, very RWS inspired decks, plus, you know, the Afro Avatar, which is a little bit different. But I thought I really do need a tarot deck that is different from the rest that I have here. And the one that really is different is my Tarot of Trees, or the Tarot of Trees. Not only because it's a mini deck, it's smaller, but also because there's no people on it. It's just trees. And I feel like this is a really underrated deck in the tarot community. I don't really see a lot of people talking about it. I really like it. I feel like it's even a little underrated in my own collection because I don't often reach for it. I do think that now we're getting into summer, like we're ending spring almost, going into summer. I do think this is a really good summer deck, but maybe not even, because all of the suits represent all of the seasons. So there's about just as much summer in this deck as there is winter. But overall, I just see trees. I don't know. I see trees as being summer because I stay in the winter. I only go out in the spring and summer, and that is when I see the trees. So maybe that's just a stupid association on my part. However, I think this is a really, really special deck, and that is why if I were to, like, that's why it's an honorable mention. It's not in my top 5 just because I don't reach with it enough. I don't read with it enough to have it in my top 5, to pick it over any of the other decks here that I do use a lot. But I think it's different. I like that it's different. It gives a different perspective. It really has that grounded energy. So I feel like that plays off really well from my Luna, Ethereal Visions Luna edition. Okay, so could I downsize my entire collection to only 5 tarot decks? I don't think so. I really enjoy having a variety of decks to work with, and I do feel a connection with so many of my decks. Plus, I always have new decks coming in because I cannot withstand the temptation. If you want to know some of the upcoming deck releases that I'm either anticipating or anti-hauling, click the video on the screen right now to watch that. Subscribe if you want to see more tarot chats and deck reviews. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!